When we think of the European Union, we often picture one of the most peaceful and stable zones of the world. While Europe has witnessed its share of historical conflicts, the specter of war appears to have receded into the past. The recent surge in international conflicts and military interventions serves to accentuate the disparity between a tranquil EU and an increasingly tumultuous world. But what if this last part was actually wrong? What if I told you that a European country, member of the EU, presently endures a military occupation resulting from a ruthless invasion? What if I added that the invader is also a member of NATO? Well, such is the case of the Republic of Cyprus, an island located in the eastern Mediterranean. 40% of its territory is currently under illegal occupation by Turkey. I personally went on site to understand how all of this happened.
This misleadingly tranquil scene is in Cyprus. Cyprus, the island of hate that so often, so quickly reverts to what it began as, the island of love. The island where Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, was born out of sea spray on this very beach.
It's now about 4 minutes past 6, and the first of the Turkish troops have landed in Cyprus.
While discovering the island, the ancient Greek heritage sites leave no doubt on the rich and long-lasting history of the country. Cyprus is populated by Greeks since ancient times. Today still, the spoken language in the Republic of Cyprus is modern Greek. And yet, in its extensive history, Cyprus has been dominated by many foreign powers. Among others, the French Crusaders dynasty of the Lusignan ruled Cyprus for 3 centuries, the Venetians for almost a century, and the Ottomans for another 3 centuries. While all these dominations have left a distinct mark on the island, the Ottoman dominion was significantly different, as an important influx of Turks actually settled in Cyprus. Indigenous Greeks were submitted to a special tax, as prescribed by the Sharia law. Like in other occupied Christian provinces, the Ottomans also abducted local children to raise them as janissaries. This harsh occupation convinced some Cypriots to convert to Islam and intermarry with Turks. But for the large majority of the population, who remained Greek, these conditions created a strong resentment that survived to this day. Even after the Ottomans relinquished control to the British, Turkish Cypriots, who represented 20% of the population, remained on the island. This ethnic and religious division is the cause of today's sad situation. Under the British rule, the majority of Cypriots aspired to join the existing Republic of Greece. This project was called the Enosis, or the Unification. In 1950, the Greek Cypriots even organized an illegal referendum on the issue. The results were abundantly clear. 95% of the voters supported the Enosis. However, these aspirations were vehemently suppressed by British forces, leading to riots between the Greeks and the British, the latter using Turkish mercenaries to help them maintain their presence. As the insurrection grew stronger, the British eventually gave up and granted Cyprus its independence. For the first time in centuries, Cyprus was free of foreign rule, but the freedom that was granted wasn't without limitations.
Midnight in Nicosia, and Sir Hugh Foot entering Parliament is followed by Archbishop Makarios, who is to take over as first President of Cyprus. Dr. Kutchuk, the Turkish Cypriot leader, is to be Vice President. So representatives of the 2 Cypriot communities and of Greece, Turkey and Britain begin the signing ceremony. Sir Hugh was optimistic. People who've been at the edge of hell do not want to go back, he said.
But the edge of hell was just around the corner. The independence agreement created a political system in which both communities shared the political power almost equally. Greek Cypriots were outraged. They couldn't understand that a minority of former colonizers could have as much power as them, who were 80% of the population. The new republic was also forbidden from ever joining Greece. Turkish Cypriots were not contented either. During the previous years, many of them had supported the Taksim, or division of the island between them and the Greeks. As could be expected, this bicultural new state couldn't work. Both communities lived aside from one another, but resentment kept them from living with each other.
The barbed wire separates us. We don't go to each other's coffee shops. We don't go to the entertainment places that others go. And to believe that we can go back on it is to be unrealistic in Cyprus.
During the 1960s, tensions between the Greek and Turkish Cypriots escalated, leading to bloody confrontations and contributing to the mutual distrust and animosity. The Turks accused the Greeks in the government to encourage their persecution by Greek militias. The Greeks accused the Turks of behaving as an overly powered, seditious minority. It became clear that they could no longer govern the country together.
On considère de ce côté-ci, du côté turc, l'autre côté, le côté grec, comme un ennemi, comme dans une guerre.
Ah ouais.
Vraiment.
Un vrai ennemi.
Ouais.
Parce que les Grecs, ils ont fait tellement de misère à brûler des maisons, même des gens vivants. Alors, la haine est très grande, c'est pour cela que maintenant, on considère ici cette communauté comme des vrais ennemis.
In 1974, Greek nationalists got tired of President Makarios's ambivalence in advancing the Enosis agenda. After receiving support from the Greek government, they orchestrated a coup against Makarios in the hope of finally achieving Enosis. Turkey reacted dramatically, pleading its position as a guarantor of the country's independence and invoking its right to ensure the security of the Turkish minority in Cyprus. Turkey launched a large-scale military operation.
We waited for the Greek-controlled National Guard to begin firing on them with artillery, but nothing happened. They, like us perhaps, could just not believe it was happening. It must be one of the biggest helicopter assaults in recent history. We tried counting them, but at 50 the sky was too confused with helicopters, American-built Hueys, landing and taking off. The Greeks began shelling, but the Turks were well hidden by now, before the artillery could get decent sights on them.
The Turkish military intervention was given an evocative name, Operation Attila. 3 days within the invasion, they were able to take control of the port city of Kyrenia and the road to the capital. Although this only represented about 3% of the island, this was a clear strategic success in their demonstration of force. In fact, the success was so evident that the Greek regime in Athens collapsed. Peace talks were opened in Geneva. However, during the peace conference, the Turkish government realized that no one would defend Cyprus and that they could gain much more from this situation.
Whatever the justification for the original landing, you in Turkey lost a lot of world sympathy with the breakdown of the Geneva conference. There you were negotiating, but you issued an ultimatum. You were asked for just 36 hours to consider it. A question of peace or war, and you would not give it. You went back to war.
Yes.
Turkey decided to launch a second offensive, more ambitious and more brutal than the first one. Once again, their success was clear. Doubtful of Greece's ability to fend off the invasion, the newly appointed Greek Prime Minister accepted the circumstances with a famous utterance. Cyprus is far away. When a ceasefire was agreed, Turkey had taken control of 37% of the island. Greek Cypriots in the north were forced to relocate to the south, while Turkish Cypriots in the south sought refuge in the north. In just a few hours, hundreds of thousands of people had to leave their ancestral homes and forsake everything else behind.
I left my tractor, I left my combine, I left my wheat and barley, which is all my things, and I left them. I hate these fucking people anyway. Hate them. Since we are so small boys, because our grandfathers from our grandfathers, I mean, years ago, they do that to this island and to Greece too.
You have nothing to go back to now?
No, I don't think I could find back. Could find anything.
What do you think you will do now?
Kill myself. Better to kill myself. If I go back to find, my house.
Evacuation offers them freedom, but the life of a refugee. It is unlikely that the Turks will allow them back, and there is no promise that they will be compensated for their confiscated homes and businesses. Old people who can't face leaving their hometown will become the smallest of minorities in what was once a predominantly Greek Cypriot town.
Not nice house, the wife is not working, and we're doing very well.
What do you pay for the house?
For the time being, we don't pay. Hasn't come up yet.
Are you worried at all that the original owner might somehow have some opportunity to get it back?
I don't think so. No, I don't worry.